Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel where this is the end of the year and there's been some stuff that I've done both on the layout and with some of the trains that you'll see. I decided that I was just going to do a real big update video and show some of the stuff that I got for Christmas, some of the trains that I've been working on, and some of the stuff that I've been working on with the layout. And as I like to do, I've got some trains running. Most of them have something that I've worked on to get them to how they are. And so I'll show you those a little more in detail. But here's the overview of the layout room from the entrance. And let me get up underneath the swing gate here and into the inner portion of the layout, and we will go through some more of what is there. Okay, what we'll do is film the layout itself now that I'm inside and show some of the changes that have happened to it and some of what I'm hoping to change with it. We'll go over some of the trains after that, some of what I've done with operations, and then we'll kind of end with a full overview in any rail of the layout, and you can kind of see what changes, some of the changes that I will talk about with the layout itself. So the first thing with the layout is I've adopted the name the Utah Northern, and you'll see some more of that when I go over one of the trains that I've got running. But that is what I'm going to be referring to the layout as from, if I'm talking about it. So this is actually the first expansion to what I had built on. For those that don't know about the layout or anything, we then have the coal mine down there. Actually, let's just get closer for that. But this is one of the things I'm really excited with the layout and how it turned out. It's just the coal mine there. Then we have the Y that comes off and comes to what the original portion of the layout was. Let's come back here just a bit. And this is the Salt Lake route track plan. It's still how it is. I just went, and where that green boxcar is there, I figured I would go out and around the room. So that is what has been changed to the Salt Lake route. There's a few things that scenery wise that I wanted that Model Railroader didn't do. So that's the big change with that, and kind of the look of how that is now. Let me move the camera to the other side and we'll talk about that portion of the layout. I didn't mention this in the last clip, but nothing has changed on the Salt Lake route. I still intend to pretty much keep it how it is. I don't think there's anything other than just small scenery details, like adding a few more trees back in there that I'd removed when adding some stuff back there. But let's actually move a little closer. I'm really still toying with the town that's going to be back here. I've got a few buildings I need to build and see if I want them there or not. The only thing that will be staying is this, I think it's a lumberyard kit. I like how that building fits in there, and we'll work with that way. And then we'll move back here to hopefully get as much of this in as I can. Nothing is changing with the container yard, at least up top. I kind of touched on it in the previous video. Or previous update, I should say. I do plan to go underneath it with some staging, and we'll eventually hope to curve around under there and come up underneath the Salt Lake route a little bit. We'll show that in the last with any rail though. It's a little easier for that. And then really the only thing that has been added over here is I bought a UTP panel for the NCE system and got it temporarily put up right here. I know there's some people that still want to be able to use, like a cab 6 or a physical throttle. And so I have that hooked up and running for, that UP locomotive that you see there. So everything's working with that. And that gives the option for utilizing that. I then have a longer cable that you probably saw hanging that I use that people can use temporarily until I get upgraded from the power cab and actually have another panel to run over. But anyway, that is pretty much the only big change that has happened on the layout itself. I've been busy working, like I said, mainly on the trains and kind of up into any rail. So that brings us to the trains portion. Let me get the camera positioned to better show the trains, and we'll talk about them in just a second. So this is the first train that also Christmas present that was given. Not the trains, not the engines themselves, but the decoders for 2 of them. I had these 2 already decodered and good to go, but I'd always wanted to get an ABBA set done up of these GP60s, and received the A and B unit over here at the start of the year, and didn't get the decoders until just Christmas. They were a Christmas present. So that is the first train that I want to talk about. The second train engine that I want to talk about is a mix of these 2, the RT switcher and the Union Pacific GP15. The switcher I've already done a video on. It was the first complete strip and repaint of a locomotive I did. The GP15 the decoder was another Christmas present. And so that's why those are running around. The third train I want to talk to is about to come into frame. And this is the 7 Stars in Kyushu. And I received this at the beginning of the year as well, and finally got a decoder put into the locomotive to be pulling that. There'll be a video about that train coming out in a couple weeks or so. Okay, the last train I want to talk about is actually the train and reason why I've adopted the Utah Northern as the layout name. A video will be coming out about some of the stuff that you'll see on it, but for a quick recap, I was at a local hobby store and there were Utah Northern decals, and I decided to pick them up and buy them and re-decal that entire train. Some of the stuff like the engine and the Erie car I just patched over. Other ones were a full strip and repaint. But that is the reason, the biggest reason for the name change of the layout. And we'll let the 7 stars run by here again quick, and then we'll go talk about the changes for the operations that I plan to be doing. Okay, with operations, I had already decided I was going to use JMRI and operations that are with it. A quick recap is it doesn't allow me to quote-unquote cheat, and I'm forced to do whatever it tells me to do and not choose the easiest train cars to be switching out. The other reason is I'm able to use engine driver with it, and as such, I'm using the throttles that people will be using when they operate on the Utah Northern is these Android tablets. I was able to get these 3 Fire tablets for $15 a piece, which really isn't that bad for an Android operating system tablet. Yes, there is the Amazon bloatware on it. They're not the biggest and best, but for $15, I couldn't really beat that for a throttle. The other reason I wanted to use Android is with engine driver, I can go in and change my consists of engines on with whatever I have on here. I don't have to go in and delete a consist in the command station. I choose the engine number if it's facing forward or reverse and use it. The other thing I'm excited with these tablets is I can connect this gamepad to them and actually control the trains with the gamepad itself and not have to rely on this bigger tablet or, carrying around a tablet. I'm more going to be using this at train shows. It's just easier, and finding out that it works on the $15 tablets. It's a lot better if something happens to one of these than the bigger tablet I had been using. The other thing with engine driver is you can pull up if it'll focus, the web server portion of JMRI and actually have that on the tablet itself. So with this, I don't have to worry about buying a printer, buying paper, buying ink, printing out the switch lists. Everything is right here on the throttle and in the operator's hands. So that is a big plus for me. And it's a lot cheaper to use these than buying wireless throttles for NCE, which it's really hard to even find NCE throttles at this point. But that is what I'm going to be doing for operations. I'm debating on doing a live stream with it and kind of showing it, or doing a video. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, that is that. I'm going to hurry and film a couple of the trains going around, and then we'll go up and discuss some of what we're planning to do with the layout in the future. And so we'll see everybody in just a bit. All right, here is the benchwork of the layout in AnyRail. This is the original Salt Lake route. These 2 areas are the expansions that I did first. And then these 2 areas along the left and the swing gate here are the last areas that I expanded onto. Here is the track plan for the Salt Lake route. It's close to what it is that when you buy it. However, AnyRail was kind of weird with the way it was putting in the pieces that were listed, it just didn't match up right. Thanks to Roy Eltham, he went through and got some things working so it actually worked right. I'll link to his channel above. Here is the track plan for the Utah Northern completely. I've put up the feeder information here of how many feeders I have. They're little red marks on the layout. Unfortunately, I can't tell if you can really see it or not, but there's a little over 100 pairs of feeders for the layout, just to make sure everything is match up right for what is there. There is a slight difference in that the Salt Lake route, being all Cotto, has blue and white wires. The rest of the area has red and white, and I just matched it up so that the white stayed constant. Here are the names for the areas in the layout. I'm not too sure on keeping the peninsula names. Those are just there for sake of the stuff in JMRI. But I may change Coal Country too, but we'll see how it goes. The first area is Salt Lake Intermodal. The only switching that occurs is this spur that's off to the side. Then we have the Inner Peninsula that services the way station here and then that grain silo. Then there's the Peninsula Team Tracks, 2 outer, 1 inner. I may do the inner track as a rip track, but we'll see how it goes. Then we move on to Coal Country, that is the coal mine. And then I start to use real world names for areas. Those tracks are Riverdale Yard. Then we have Ogden, that I don't know if this long track here I'll tack in as part of Ogden or not. I just have locomotives parked there. Then these 3 tracks are Freeport. The area over here where the mine is at, I call Park City. Then the 3 turnouts on the left side that you see there is Clearfield West, as it's the west side of the main lines. These 3 longer straight tracks are the Clearfield Yard. It's then these 4 tracks and the one that goes to an industry on the bottom is Clearfield East. I have the 2 yards, Riverdale and Clearfield. That's where the trains will start and be, operated from. Then we move on to this little spot here that is going just what looks to be nowhere, but it is actually the place where I plan to go underneath the layout. Here is the line that will be going down. It will be a 4% grade, maybe more. I'm going to be testing it. The curve there, I pulled these up. It's going to be a lot less sharp. That way, the grade and the curve will have as little resistance and problems for the trains themselves. But I will be doing a lot of testing just to make sure that whatever I put in there works out and it ends up not causing major issues. It's going to be a little tricky with that steep of a grade. However, I normally run 2 to 3 locomotives per train, so it won't be an issue. Plus, with all the testing, just to be safe, we should be good. And then I zoom in here in just a little bit, but I wanted to do a little bit of yard and potentially slight operations as well to the staging. And so zoomed in here. This also was thanks to Roy. He kind of had a vision, tweaked it with some suggestions I had, and I'm pretty happy with it. And I have most of the track that I can do that. These 3 tracks here will just be another engine yard facility. and then have, come out and around, go underneath the Salt Lake route and do some operations area here as well. The reason for that is right there is where it's just scenic with the Salt Lake route. There's really nothing that an operator could be doing there other than filming a train or just watching it, swing around. And so I decided to do some operations and put that in there. The original plan that I had there, it made sense to flip it after talking with some people so that it would actually have the operations at the front of it. I then tweaked that further and have what's here. I really liked having the nscale architect Elton smelter, and then that way it would give a reason for the mine to be there, and there could be a local run, going kind of back and forth between the mine and the smelter. I wasn't sure on some of these industries. I really liked the thought of having the crossover that you see there, but as far as these two smaller industries, I wasn't sure on. I did think it would be kind of a cool thing to have an area for the auto racks that I have, because I've got a bunch of them. And then here, I wasn't sure, maybe do some kind of oil unloading, but again, this is way down the road, end of the year, if not into next year, before I get to this portion of the layout and this operating area. I do have enough switches to do the staging yard, but the thing that I really need at the moment is flex track, and I wanted to hold off until this next weekend when I have a train show, and I wanted to try and support locally if I could before buying online. And just to see, here is the underlevel staging and how it would compare with the rest of the layout. I do want to take a moment and quickly thank everybody for subscribing to the channel and for watching the content. I greatly appreciate it. Hopefully you're able to use some of it in your planning and kind of what you do on your layout. And I plan to keep going with it, and we'll see how far I can get with the layout this coming year. So thanks for watching. We'll end with some trains, and we'll see everybody in the next video.